Let's dive into some Chicago Bears trade targets with the NFL Combine Week underway here. My name is Harrison Graham. You're watching Bears Now by Chat Sports. Bears are up to almost $80 million in projected cap space. They've got plenty of draft capital. So I'm going to explore 5 players that the Bears could potentially try to trade for this week or moving closer to free agency, as these teams are all in Indianapolis talking to one another. These scenarios get discussed. You'd be surprised how often GMs will just text each other like, would you trade this guy? How about this hypothetical? So it happens all the time. Now, as far as the Bears draft capital, they got plenty of it. They have 4 picks in the top 72, 3 in the top 41. So they've got ammunition to go make a splashy trade if they choose to do so, or even just a medium-sized trade, certainly on the board as well. And when you look at what the Bears need this offseason, I got 8 categories right now. Guard, center, edge rusher, running back, defensive tackle, safety, tight end, offensive tackle. You could certainly move defensive tackle up. I think edge and defensive tackle are kind of interchangeable. I think just one more good pass rusher is certainly a need, if not multiple. But those are my kind of top 8 needs as of this time as we enter free agency. If you want the Bears to make a trade, big or small, hit that like button. And if you don't, tell me why down in the comment section below. And remember, a trade could be draft pick swapping, trading down, whatever the case may be. If you want the Bears to make a trade, hit that like button. Okay, Micah Parsons, the first player I want to talk about here on Chicago Bears Now. I know we've talked about him some. First of all, the latest reports is that Parsons and Dallas have not opened contract talks as of yet. Now, there's been chatter that both sides would like to get a deal done, but they have actually not met and discussed as of filming, his reps and the Dallas Cowboys. That's what's been reported, which isn't surprising because the Cowboys are typically slow on their feet when it comes to trying to get a deal done with their own guys currently under contract. This is a premier pass rusher. He is 25 years old, and he averages 13 sacks a season. You know, Micah's got a weird rap because he's got a podcast and a couple playoff games. He hasn't played his best. Whatever. To me, this is a guy that transforms a defense because he's going to draw a ton of double teams. He's going to free up guys for one-on-ones, and he's still going to be hella productive despite being the primary focus for opposing teams' offensive lines and coaching scheme. I would trade 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons. Would I trade 3? No. Would I trade 2 1s and a 2? I'd think about it. I think Micah, he's 25. In theory, if you make this move, you're thinking about him of giving him 2 more contracts. Like, you pay him a big deal now, and then you pay him again when he's like 29. Like, this is a guy you want for the next decade. Like, you're thinking we're trading for Micah Parsons, and he's becoming a Hall of Famer as a Chicago Bear. Like, that is the goal if you make this move. And you just think about what it could do for your defense with the rest of that group, that defensive line, the amount of one-on-ones Montez Sweat and Trevon Dexter could get. I think it really you would look at this defense much differently. Like, we already think it's a pretty good defense. I think it becomes one of the best in the league if you get a guy like Micah Parsons. Would you trade 2 first-round picks for Micah? I would do it. Type Y for yes. Type in for no. I know, offensive line. Well, you could sign guys in free agency. You could still draft a guy on day 2. I would absolutely trade 2 first-round picks for Micah because you can still address offensive line, which is obviously a priority. Okay, that brings us to the other guy, Myles Garrett. The more I've thought about it, I'm not against trading for Myles Garrett because he's arguably the best pure edge rusher in the NFL. He's a physical specimen. He is a lethal pass rusher. He can play the run. He also transforms the defense. He's also 29 years old. Like, to me, between Micah and Myles, where the Bears are currently, I'd rather trade for Micah, even if I'm acknowledging that Garrett is currently a slightly better player. But he's basically 1 contract down the road. Like, he's about to get a 3rd contract. Micah hasn't even gotten his 2nd one yet. Can the Bears be a good team this year that's in the playoffs? Yeah, they could. But ideally, they're entering a window where they could be good for the next 6 to 8 to 10 years. Myles makes more sense for a team that's more veteran-oriented, that's in their Super Bowl window firmly right now. The Buffalo Bills. the Philadelphia Eagles. Unfortunately, a team like the Detroit Lions, which we hope that doesn't happen. The Green Bay Packers, hopefully that doesn't happen either. But a team that's been knocking on the door, which I think Buffalo makes the most sense. I mean, the excruciatingly tough losses they have had to Kansas City in the playoffs, like a guy like Garrett could be the difference because they've been that close in a lot of those games. So I'm not against it, but like if you're asking me if I'd rather have Garrett or Micah, I'll take Micah because he's 4 years younger and he can help grow your team. Whereas, could you win a Super Bowl while Myles Garrett is still elite? Yeah, it's possible, but the window is just shorter for him on your roster. Okay, Michael Mayer. How about this name? So there's been some slight chatter that maybe the Raiders would be open to trading Mayer because they have Brock Bowers and, Mayer could start for certain teams or he could at least have a bigger impact elsewhere. We'll talk about him a little bit more here in just a moment because the Bears do need some tight end help after Cole Kmet. But first, I do want to tell you guys about today's sponsor. That is Prize Picks. Get in on all of the action sports-wise with daily fantasy at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a $50 bonus straight into your account when you play a first lineup for just $5. 2 or more players on 2 or more different teams. You can cross over your sports with your lineups. You can pick players from different sports as long as it's at least 2 players on 2 or more different teams. Pick more or less on the stat projections. For example, Caleb Williams in a game next year, 231.5 passing yards. Take the more or less. Pair that with a different player. Obviously, it's not football season, but it is basketball season, and the action is heating up on the court. Here's an example of a 3-player lineup that you could have fired off as well. Luka's more on his points, rebounds, and assists. Kyrie more on his points, and then LeBron James less on his points. Again, you could throw a hockey player into that lineup as well. 2 to 6 players, you can win up to 1,000 times your money on certain lineups with Prize Picks. It's easy. Takes less than 90 seconds to sign up. Takes less than 60 seconds to fire your first lineup. Within 3 minutes, you could have a lineup launched, even if you haven't currently downloaded the app. Download today, prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS. It's a $58 bonus when you play for just $5. Okay, let's talk a little Michael Mayer. I really liked him coming out of Notre Dame a few years ago. And, his rookie year, he was okay. Quite frankly, he kind of reminded me of Cole Kmet his rookie year with the Bears. Like, you saw flashes. You saw potential as a pass catcher, potential as a blocker, but certainly inconsistent and a bad team, right? Like, the Raiders, especially offensively, have just not been very good. And then this year he missed some time. He had a personal issue. I think there was a family death. I'm not sure what happened. He missed some time, came back. Obviously, Brock Bowers was rolling by then. But one thing he kind of embraced and really improved at was as a blocker. He graded out much better as a blocker in his second year. And coming out of Notre Dame, he was kind of viewed as that complete guy, someone who can catch the ball, someone who can block. He kind of reminded me out of Kmet coming out of college, maybe with slightly more upside. I'm not sure I would say that now, 2 years into his career. But I think as a number 2 or a guy you could run 12 personnel with Kmet, I like it. He's a willing blocker. He can catch the football. Behind a guy like Bowers, who's going to get over 100 targets per year, you're probably not getting max utilization out of him. So if you're the Raiders and you can trade him for a 5th-round pick, you might just do it. And if you're telling me he's on the market for that 5th-round pick the Bears have, I would do that in a heartbeat because they keep trying these different free agent tight ends to back up Kmet. And not only are they not working, they're kind of a disaster. Robert Tonyan was horrible. Gerald Everett was worse. Mercedes Lewis has been fine as a tight end 3. He's 40 years old. Like, you got to get someone who can play more snaps and who can do a little bit of everything, and that is Michael Mayer, and I think you can get a discount on him right now. So I'd give the Raiders a call. If you can get him for a day 3 pick, I would certainly be very open to that. Subscribe to the channel. If the Bears make a trade, we are going live. So not only hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell as well. You click the bell, select all. That way you know exactly when we're going live and when we publish content. Don't miss any of it. You'll get notified on this little thing that we call a phone. All right, a couple more here. I just having a little fun here. There's been no real buzz of this other than late in the year, McAfee went on a rant that the Colts should get rid of some guys, and he mentioned Taylor specifically. I guess he had heard some things he didn't like. I don't know. I watched Jonathan Taylor play, and I'm like, guy's a stud. But, maybe McAfee has information I don't have. Probably does with the Colts. He lives in Indianapolis. But let me just get this off immediately. I'd be surprised if he freed up. The Colts are entering a critical year with their head coach and GM kind of on the hot seat. Like, are they going to trade their best offensive player? I highly doubt it. But there's been like minor murmurs in the past. Remember, there was contract dispute between him and the team before they finally got a deal. He quietly, guys, 14-31 in 14 games. He averaged over 100 yards per game last year for an offense that could not throw the ball at times. Like, that's quietly an unbelievable season Jonathan Taylor had. I think if you got him in Chicago, he'd be just a sick RB1 on this team. Swift playing off of him as a pass catcher and kind of a home run hitter, I think would be fantastic. Now, maybe you would trade him as well, but his cap hits for the next 2 years for a team trading for him, $13 million. Not bad for what he brings to the table. I mean, he's a 1,200-plus yard back year in and year out when healthy, which he was last year. I mean, in 14 games, if he played all 17, I mean, he's probably rushed for 16, 1,700 yards. I mean, he was quietly unbelievable last year. Now, maybe you would trade Swift in this scenario. Probably feels more likely because do you want cap hits of over $20 million for your running back room? Probably not. So maybe in this scenario, you would trade for Taylor, ship Swift out, and then draft a guy. Maybe in this scenario, you draft a Travion Henderson who could give you some juice as an RB2. So I kind of cooked up a trade here, just throwing it out there. Again, I have no idea if the Colts would do this, but Jonathan Taylor and a fourth coming back to the Bears for 41 overall and DeAndre Swift. I figure DeAndre Swift is worth what? 5th-round pick with this contract. Certainly a NFL starting running back, but, not the best contract, not a high-end player. So, you're trading a 2 and a 5 for Taylor and a 4. Is that enough? I don't know. Running backs probably have a little more value than they did this time last year. I'd be interested. Would you do this trade? Type Y for yes, type N for no. You'd still have 39. You obviously still have your first, and you got a 4th-round pick, which you don't currently have. So I kind of like this move. You'd still have ammo to go get a complimentary back off of it. No idea if the Colts would do it, but if he were available, he's pretty damn good. All right, Mazi Smith, just a player in a position of need, new coaching staff. He's been a disappointing player through 2 seasons in Dallas. You could see them maybe pivoting off of a player like this. This would be a buy low target. 1st-round pick from a couple years ago, has not come close to living up to it. But, you see teams take flyers on these guys all the time. 6th-round pick, late-round pick swap, whatever it would be. Again, I'm not sure Dallas would trade him, but when a player has underachieved and a new coaching staff comes in, the new staff may not view him as a fit. I have no idea how Matt Eberflus would view Mazi Smith on his defense. He's not a 3-tech. We know the 3-tech is important to what Flus wants to do defensively, so he's more of a 1-tech. So, if you're the Bears, would you take a flyer, 6th, 7th-round pick to be Andrew Billings' backup? Like, he'd be a better 1-tech than Zach Pickens, who's undersized. So, just a name I wanted to throw out there that maybe on a buy low guy with some potential could, get more value out of with a guy like Dennis Allen, perhaps. Okay, that's it. Trade targets. Again, NFL Combine here. Trades are being discussed as we speak. That's what happens in Indianapolis. So we're going to keep you guys in the loop on all of it. So don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications.